Good morning, and again, thank you for joining us on this webinar featuring corrosion under insulation and the £28 billion problem. As Jordan says, my name is Allison, and I'm the Solution Centre Manager looking after asset integrity here at the Asset Integrity at the Oil and Gas Technology Centre. As a reminder, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just drop them into the chat function and we'll pick them up at the end, and we'll hopefully get through as much as we can in today. If not, we'll follow up with you. So the purpose of today is really to talk about the challenges surrounding corrosion under insulation. But first I want to just cover briefly who are and what is the OGTC and what our purpose is. For some of you may not be aware of what we're trying to achieve within the industry at the moment. Then we will focus and dive into the actual problem itself, and we will look at the challenges that we have considering and surrounding CUI or corrosion under insulation. And we'll also look at some of the current and emerging solutions that we've seen within the Solution Centre and we know that are being used and adopted within the industry at this moment in time. But we're also going to focus and factor into the other elements that we need to consider as well. It's not all about the technology and some of the inspection techniques. There's other factors that we need to consider when we're working through some of the solutions and options to manage CUI more effectively. And then finally, I want to discuss how you can get involved. Whether you're a researcher, an academic, or a technology developer looking to promote and help get technology into the marketplace. So we will look at how you can help us identify solutions and help with and provide some funding opportunities via our Open Innovation Programme. So I'll go into that in a little bit of detail nearer the end of today's session. So who are the Oil and Gas Technology Centre and what do we do? As a non-for-profit organisation, we are funded by the UK and Scottish governments, and we were founded in 2016. So we are a relatively new and young organisation, and we officially launched our doors, opened our doors just over a year ago in February 2017. We have £180 million to co-invest in projects over the next 10 years, and we're in the unique position to bring together the oil and gas companies and operators, as well as service companies and organisations from out with our industry. We bring everybody into a safe place where people can openly share and talk about their technologies and their problems, and also understand some of their challenges and the ideas and any the solutions they may have. And we do that as part of our Innovation Hub, which some of you may have already visited, as we have a very active programme in that space, whether it's through workshop events or even through sessions like these webinars. The Hub is the environment where real collaboration can take place. And that's where we feel real value is being generated. And even in this early stage of the OGT's life, we've managed to achieve some significant and good use cases through some of the workshops we've hosted over the last year. Not only are we about working with the industry and talking to service companies and operators, but we also have a strong relationship with not only just the industry, but the government and the regulators. So we work very closely with the Oil and Gas Authority, the Health and Safety Executive, and any other of the regulatory bodies, not just within the UK, but also to try an understanding of some of the regulations attached in the global marketplace as well. We partner with companies of all shapes and sizes. So again, we are working with big, massive international oil companies, but we're also working with the smaller operators as well. We work with small developers to the large R&D companies. So there's something for everybody to get involved in within the Technology Centre itself. But we co-invest in the projects to accelerate this technology development, and our funding model is very unique. Every pound our government gives us to fund must be matched by our industry, but we are doing that through benefit in kind. So we are bringing the cash funding and our industry is bringing the expertise and the technology to the table. This principle of targeted public money as catalyzing investment from our industries enable us to move really quickly through some of the challenges that we're focusing on. We have 5 different solution centres: asset integrity, wells, small pool, decommission and digital transformation. And if you want to find out more about any of those solution centres, please feel free to drop us a line and we can get one of the solution centre managers to reach out to you. So that's about our innovation space and our hub and our collaboration, but underpinning all that, we have 3 main goals. The first one is really about unlocking the potential of the North Sea, and that really came from the Mayor UK and the Surrey and Wood report that was launched in 2014-15. And our main aim is really to support and keep the basin going for longer. So all the technology we're looking to develop has to be applicable for the North Sea. It has to have some sort of impact to keeping our basin and reducing the costs that we currently are facing. But we're also looking to anchor our supply chain here in the Northeast. So whether that's bringing new investment and new companies into the region, but also helping our companies that are already based here to help them develop and grow their international export capabilities, as well as supporting the Northeast as well. And lastly, we're looking to create an innovation culture, bringing academics, researchers into the area and really bringing the Northeast into an area that people want to come and work and to carry out fundamental research. And we're doing this through a number of initiatives via our Centre of Excellences that were recently announced, with the one on decommissioning opening later in this year in partnership with the University of Aberdeen, and one featuring subsea, which will be partnered with Robert Gordon University. And they will be looking at fundamental research in both those spaces, and we'll look to be bringing on more of those online as and when we identify the needs. But from an asset integrity perspective, one of our goals is to eliminate failures due to corrosion under insulation by 2026. That's a big goal and a big task. But having been in the industry for over 20 years, as Jordan kindly reminded me, it's safe to say that little has changed in the way we manage integrity. So we think we now have a great opportunity to make a real difference and to try and overcome this challenge associated with corrosion under insulation. We believe through the adoption of existing and emerging technology, we can achieve this goal, albeit it's a very ambitious one. And we also believe that the improved efficiencies, better techniques, and simply changing the way we work will all aid to help us achieve that goal. It's a goal for our industry, not just for Oil and Gas Technology Centre. If we can actively find a solution to managing corrosion under insulation, I think everybody would welcome that approach. So that's about our goals and what we're trying to achieve. So what have we been doing for the last 12 months? And I know this is a very busy slide, but it's just to give you an overview of some of the performance that we have been carrying out over the last 12 months or so. It has been a very busy year, and we are a very small team. We have co-invested £37 million with the industry to develop and deploy new technology across the 5 solution centres. And £22 million of that investment came from our industry partners, such as the oil and gas majors, our subject matter experts, and our technical R&D firms. We now have over 80 memberships across our 5 solution centres, and these are people that are working and helping us achieve our goals and drive our strategy forward. We've also seen over 400 different technologies and different ideas coming through our door, and they've been screened, and they're from machine learning to robotics to inspection techniques to paint systems. So a wide and varied different set of technology solutions. We're also trying to field trial different technologies. It's one of our main aims, and our purposes is to help get technologies into the market and validate in a live environment. So we've already completed 10 field trials this year, in 2017, and we have 27 planned again this year. So a huge amount of activity in our offshore environment. And with that in mind, we have over 70 live projects. I think we're now approaching the 80 mark, and we have lots more in the hopper that we're currently reviewing and screening and bringing through the approval process with us. But we've also launched our TechX programme, which is a groundbreaking technology accelerator programme to help support pre-revenue startup companies right through to market entry support. Because we recognise the need that once we've validated technology, how do we help scalability and get companies to bring that market to that technology into the marketplace? So TechX offers that support, and that was launched middle of next year with over 200 applications from 25 countries in 2 months. So a very successful kickoff for that one. And as I mentioned in my first slide, the Innovation Hub has seen over 5,000 people visit the centre to take part in various different events and workshops. So we are trying to reach out to as many people as widely as possible from different industries and within our own. And just to give you a couple of examples of some of the projects we've been involved in, not only just in asset integrity, but in well plug and abandonment. We're looking at a thermite plug that will use cement technology to plug and abandon wells in conjunction with Spirit Energy and Interwell, and that will project to have a saving of over £100 million a year. The Asset Integrity Initiative we carried out recently in conjunction with ABB, looking at non-intrusive vessel inspection, We have identified opportunities that can save the industry over £244 million a year, and that's something we're still actively working on and was part of our previous call for proposals. And then in small pools, our stranded reservoirs, our tie back to the future initiative is unlocking the marginal discoveries, and we're reckoning that we can have additional 400 million barrels released and generate a £3 billion value to the industry. So by co-investing in all these different technologies, and we have some in digital and decom as well, not only helps companies and sectors to thrive and grow, but it's also provided a real opportunity for the industry to truly collaborate to overcome the technology challenges. We believe that oil and gas technology has created the opportunity to help seize the here and now and to bring real advancements into our industry. So that is us. So now we really want to focus on why we're here and what we're wanting to discuss, and that is corrosion under insulation, or CUI as we lovingly term it as. So CUI is a blanket term that refers to several different types of corrosion that occurs as a result of perforated or damaged insulation. Water ingress causes corrosion to occur to pipework, pressure vessels with the corrosion and process, and is one of the most difficult and failure mechanisms to predict and prevent. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So in carbon steel, it usually occurs in the form of age-related metal wall loss, either localized corrosion or, as you can see in some of the pictures, some extensive corrosion wall loss. And in stainless steel, it can be found in the form of chloride pitting and chloride stress corrosion cracking. So two different failure mechanisms, but both resulting in failure of plant and equipment. And both can be both happen without us really understanding where and when it will happen. It is a bit of a Swiss cheese effect with CUI. You do need to have a number of factors for it to occur, and it usually occurs when moisture enters the insulation system through the weak points such as failed seals, joints, and just damage to the general insulation system itself, or proper and impure insulation process in the first place. So the insulation that's designed to prevent moisture ingress actually then allows moisture to be trapped in the system, which is one of the reasons why we now see CUI being prevalent within the industry. It does occur at any point during the life cycle of an asset, but it does tend to come in waves, usually around the 5 to 10 year mark when we start seeing accelerated corrosion. So, as I mentioned, CUI is difficult to detect and unfortunately usually finds us before we find it. We have a number of failures still occurring in our industry on a daily basis due to CUI. It's estimated that CUI poses a significant operational and safety challenge and is one of our highest integrity threats. Many of our assets in the UK continental shelf are operating well beyond their design life, and we are now seeing more and more failures attributed to CUI. As a result, it is estimated 60% of all piping failures are attributed to this failure mode. But not only that, we've also got one of the highest costs associated within the maintenance budgets associated with CUI. So again, 60% of plant maintenance costs are associated with the managing and dealing with corrosion under insulation, which actually equates to about a 10% overall platform maintenance budget. So a huge cost impact in our daily operations. We've had one operator confirm that their management of CUI approximately costs them £10 million a year for their UK assets, and has rolled up to about £60 million across their portfolio. But not only do we have costs, we have a major safety problem with it. And of all the incidents, the major oil and gas accidents reported in the EU since 1984, 20% of these have been associated with CUI. But CUI isn't just an oil and gas problem. According to NACE, the direct and indirect costs of corrosion cost the UK economy £28 billion a year. And that's why we've labelled this as the £28 billion problem. The figures also rise to 4 trillion globally. So as you can see, corrosion costs not only our oil and gas industry a significant amount, but also to our global economy. So if we can make small inroads or even large inroads to this, the size of the prize is great. So what do we do to actually manage corrosion under insulation? It's been around long enough. And we do manage it to a certain extent effectively, and we have some practices in place that do help overcome some of these challenges. And they're the themes that we have actually within our call for proposal as well. So we're looking at the predicting side, and a lot of risk-based inspection programs are widely adopted within the oil and gas industry. These are used to screen and identify areas of high risk and prioritise inspection activities, and are based on probability of failure and consequence of failure. Because CUI is a high probability and a high consequence, a lot of risks associated with CUI are classed as a priority. But our IBI assessments are usually qualitative and semi-quantitative, and are very iterative and manual processed. And we've seen little advances in the technology used to carry out risk-based assessment in the last few years. So we really need to start challenging how we can use prediction type technologies, and whether that's from our own industry or those out with, to hone in our prediction and our capabilities of trying to detect where these problems will occur. We also have detection, so CUI monitoring systems. One of the things that we tell a lot of our developers, wet insulation does not mean CUI. So we need to really understand what's going on under the insulation and within the coating and the substructure that we're trying to monitor. So we see a number of monitoring systems attached to the plant for measuring and gathering data, whether that's through wet insulation to corrosion and wall thickness loss. And again, we are seeing some of the challenges that are surrounding these due to the complex geometries, the hard to access locations, and the fact that we are on an aging infrastructure, and how do we actually refit or retrofit these sensor technologies and communicate back to the various technologies or software solutions that manage the data. So again, we would like to see some further investment on how we can bring sensors into a wide application within the industry. Then we move on to inspection. So again, inspection is an effective way to monitor and screen for CUI. And a lot of people think when they talk about asset integrity and corrosion under insulation, they automatically think it's all about inspection. We have seen advancements in non-destructive evaluation or non-destructive testing without removing the insulation. But one of the best techniques of actually understanding where we have CUI and measuring and monitoring it is our standard ultrasonics. But that does usually involve us removing the insulation, which is timely, costly, and doesn't always identify where we're actually going to find CUI. We have other technologies that we've been seeing coming through the market over the different years. We have guided wave, which is good for long pipelines. And we are monitoring this technology to see how it progresses, because we do think it has an application in the industry, but is classed as a screening method for corrosion. And like I say, it's best for long straight pipelines where there's no flanges. Radiography, again, can be used effectively to manage and inspect CUI through the insulation. However, even the progression in digital radiography, we still have some concerns within the industry due to the radioactive sources and the HSC risks associated with it. But radiography is an alternative, it's a good alternative, but again, we need to try and make it a more safer option as we move forward. In recent years, pulsed eddy current, even though it's been around for a long time, 10 years or so, has now come to the forefront, and recent developments means that the measurement can be collected faster than the older systems, and there are some ambitious claims that PEC can be covering more and more activities. This is a technology that we do believe has some capability and is going to make a difference in the CUI market, and we're interested to see how that technology will develop further as it's progressed through the R&D cycle. A couple other technologies that we've seen as well are around the low frequency electromagnetic techniques, and again, they've been around several years and are being applied for vessel and pipework inspections. And again, there has been recent success, and this including the deployment via the scanners and robotics. So it's another technology that we are monitoring and reviewing how that progresses. And then on to our final sort of current practices around the mitigation. And that's really looking at the different mitigation effects that we have when we find our corrosion under insulation. Typically, these involve around blasting and reapplying of a coating system. So again, we are seeing new different technologies coming through for blasting, whether it's the dry ice blasting type techniques and different preparation methods, and new coating systems as well. So we have various different coating systems that are coming through as well that can help reinstate the pipework to its former barrier method. We're also seeing temporary and defined life repairs. So when we are getting significant corrosion, there are a number of different temporary and defined life repair options that can be fitted to our pipework. And ultimately, we can replace or downrate the equipment as well, but it does have an impact on operations in shutdowns and also your throughput. We also have seen some use of the vapor phase corrosion inhibitor type products, and they have been around for a while and are good for, again, providing corrosion barrier and are providing some good results. So that's sort of what we are seeing in the current practice. We're not seeing a huge game changer in there. So again, that's another reason why we've gone for an open call to try and stimulate some ideas. Also, if anybody out there has some ideas in this space, we would love to hear from you to find out a bit more and how we can potentially help. But we've also been looking at some of the emerging technologies and the newer techniques that are coming out into the market. And there are several, and we've reviewed some of them, and we're currently working with others as they come into the marketplace. And I'm just going to touch on some of them as we go and give you a bit of an overview of them. So the first one is around the microwave sensing and microwave detection of water. So this is just using microwave techniques for varying frequencies, injecting them down into the pipework and propagating the length. It works very well with rock wool and polyurethane foam, but it's not suitable for glass foam, we're finding that there is some, and it monitors water ingress, which doesn't always necessarily mean that we have a CUI problem. This technology has been developed over the last 6 years or so, and we are continuing to monitor the progress to determine the benefits on that. So it's one that we are watching and working with some developers on. Acoustic resonance, again, has been around for a while for various different forms, and it's using broadband acoustic signaling towards the metal structure to analyze the frequency and ultimately the wall thickness. It has been commercially deployed in the past, and we feel it has a promising technology. So again, we're looking to see if there's any further tests that can be carried out to determine its capabilities for CUI inspection. We also have ultrasonic tomography. So this is based on ultrasonic technology, and again has been used in the industry, but we're now looking to see how the transducers can be placed around the infrastructure to measure and monitor wall thickness loss. And again, this is something that we are looking to see how that's progressing. Into the natty titled terahertz spectral imaging. I am not by any means a physicist, so I have no real clue on how this technology works, but it is a mixture between microwave and high frequency infrared. And again, it's used to penetrate the materials and detect internal defects. A lot of work's been done in universities on this, so it's at very early stages, and it does show promising results with non-metallic materials and can see through certain foams and ceramics. So it has been extensively used in the space and aerospace industries, and we're looking to see how we can potentially progress this and move this into our industry to use for the detection under paint and within the steel structure itself. Electromagnetic impedance spectroscopy. Probably not said that quite right, but hey ho. EIS, as we like to call it. It's a bit easier for me. And we have seen a couple of companies working in this, and this is using small amplitude AC current of varying frequencies to measure responses to different activities in the substructure. So this technology, we are working with a company, and we're actively looking to support a field trial on this one. So hopefully we will get that in the next few months and bring that as a case study to the market to see how those results performed. So a lot of those technologies are very much around sensing or inspection, and then we do have a couple that are looking at the actual sensor technology as well. So sacrificial wires have been are underway with trials with BP and Shell, and they're looking. These are indirect measurement technologies of wires that are placed within the insulation to monitor any wall thickness loss. And again, we are looking to see how those perform and look at the retrofit options and the communication and how they manage with some of the complex geometries that we have within some of our pipework systems. We also have long-range sensors, which is predominantly being developed by Corrosion Radar, who are a spin out from Cranfield University, and they are looking at their sensing technology for monitoring CUI and pipe corrosion under pipe support. The system operates on a permanently installed flexible long-range sensor, which is mounted on the pipe itself and will measure wall thickness loss and corrosion activity. And again, we are actively looking for field trials for this technology. And again, hopefully we'll have that in the next few months. And we will case study and also share the results of those trials. And then the other systems we are seeing coating systems coming through, and we are looking for different types of coatings rather than the more 10 to 20 year life cycle ones, especially for our late life assets. So again, we are looking at a coating called Ion Coat, which is a 2-layer coating system, which is spray applied onto carbon steel, which forms an acid that converts the top layer into an iron magnesium phosphate, which will provide a barrier method. The second layer then provides a ceramic shield, which just gives it that bit more robustness and provides extra protection to the alloy layer below. That is a coating system that we are actively trialling at the moment, and we have 2 trials in the pipeline on and sanctioned for that. And again, we will feedback results as and when that comes to fruition. So I'm just going to quickly cover the other factors that we need to consider. It's not all about sensing and paint and inspection activities. There's other elements that we need to consider. The main ones we are really focusing on are our risk models and our late life management. Some of our risk-based programs are still geared up for maximum production and also don't take into consideration the changes in the integrity operating windows that we currently have within our late life assets. We also need to look at obsolescence, especially around the mitigation piece, and if pressure vessels, how do we repair and replace those when we may be looking at obsolescence issues. And there are a number of other initiatives looking at how we best support those type of activities around the KP4 HSE initiative and the Asset Integrity Toolkit. So some of these will be touched on by other organisations and other initiatives. But I think a key one is around the data. We have a vast amount of data on the CUI, but when we've asked people, how much does it impact you? How much does it cost you? What are your biggest threats? We really struggle to get that information because the data is very unstructured and nobody really knows the version of the truth. So that's something we're really working with our Digital Transformation Solutions Centre on. How do we manage our data more effectively? And how do we use that vast amount of unstructured data to help machine learning and artificial intelligence help better predict our CUI problems? Then we have the human factors piece, and it's about the not just competency. Sometimes some people jump onto the competency piece, but it's actually engaging with our workforce to really understand what their needs and their challenges are, as well as just bringing in new technologies. So how do we make sure that people are comfortable with the technologies we're bringing in and fully understand the limitations, but also the material sciences piece as well, and how do we really understand the challenges we have around the structural integrity of our pressure vessels and pipework when we start encountering CUI and our fit for service and life extension type technologies. So again, that's an area that we're looking for support and understand and work with industry on how we best manage the behaviour aspects. And then lastly, we do have the compliance piece, and we are really working with HSE and other regulators in UCAS to understand how better we can manage and what the regulations are there to goal set and also effectively manage CUI more effectively. So that's another area that we are broaching into and working on various different initiatives. So that's our thoughts on what CUI and what the challenges are and the technologies that are currently out there and some of the initiatives that we're seeing. So we as an industry, or being led by the industry, to really go out and find some other solutions to this problem. So that's why we've opened up our recent Open Innovation Programme to really come up with solutions on those 4 key themes. So from the prediction side, to the sensing, to the detection, and to the mitigation. We've identified, based on the current figures of how much it's costing our industry, that there's up to about £125 million worth of cost saving if we can reduce the costs by 50%. We estimate CUI costs our industry £250 million a year. So if we can reduce that by 50%, which is one of our aspirations within the Technology Centre, then £125 million the value to the industry that we can bring. I'm sure our oil and gas operators would welcome us bringing some of those cost savings to them. So as part of this Open Innovation Call, we are going to co-fund up to £1 million and we will bring interest rate support in with that as well. So again, there's a significant amount of funding available for those that are willing to or have ideas that they want to bring to the market. And we're looking for projects that can be developed within the next 6 to 24 months. So we're really in the fix the day type agenda. We know that CUI is a real issue within the industry right now, and we do want to try and find solutions that we can either field trial or bring to test environments quite quickly over the next 6 to 24 months. We are willing to look at the more fundamental science research as well, and they will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But our main function and purpose right now is the higher sort of TRL type projects. So what are the timelines for that? So the call opened on the 28th of March. We have our submission deadline set for the 11th of May, and we're looking for expressions of interest at this stage. All we're really looking for is an overview of what your idea is. It doesn't have to have pages and pages of technical detail, but so we can understand what your project is, we do need some information. We do need to know roughly how much funding you're looking for, again, because we need to assess how much projects we can support. And generally, we will come back to you for feedback on either more information or to let you know if you've gone through to the next phase by the 25th of May. We will then work through the shortlist to develop the idea further. We might have one-to-one engagement with you where we have meetings set up, or we may just do it electronically through email. And we will send out your proposals to our expert panelists who will help us assess and review the projects. And we aim to carry that out by June 2018. And then our final stage is really when we go into our Dragon's Den type session, and we will get our member companies to come in and vote and screen your proposals. And that's where you will have the chance to come in and present to our operators your idea and hopefully secure your investment. And we aim to have that completed and finished by the beginning of July. So we have a very ambitious timeline. We have a small team to work through those, but we've now done 2 or 3 of these throughout the solution centres, and we have a fairly robust and streamlined process to follow. So that's my presentation for today. I would like to thank you for your time, and we will take any questions. So we will just...
Okay, thanks Rebecca. Great presentation and a fascinating insight into one of the key integrity challenges facing oil and gas. We'll now open up the floor to questions. If you've got a question, remember to use the chat function in the menu. Any questions out there?
So we have a question about funding a startup company. Yes, we will take companies at any stages in their sort of life cycle. It may be through TechX, just to give you extra support as you need it, or it could be just through the Solution Centre. We work very closely between the two. TechX and Solution Centres will be there to support startup companies, even if you're at that pre-revenue stage or you're at initial stages as well.
We've got another question about how to apply for the call for ideas. So if you go visit the Oil and Gas Technology Centre website, that's www.theogtc.com/AI-CFI. That'll take you to the page. You'll be able to download the full technical information on the call, and then you register on our ideas portal to submit your idea.
So we have another question about ideas being submitted from international companies. We are not limiting it to just UK companies. The main thing is the technology has to be applicable for the North Sea. If you are an international company, it would be beneficial that you have some route to market through the Northeast. But certainly if the technology will be applicable for our challenges, then yes, we can support you. We also have another question regarding the applications can the combine themes. So yes, we actually have 5 drop downs on the menu. There's one covering all themes and then one for the individual themes as well. So we have had a number of companies asking us about the combined theme. So yes, that is an option because we do see the 4 elements are integral to solving the challenge. We have another question regarding the funding level. So depending on how your company structure and the TRL level or development level depends on how much we can fund. We are bound by state aid rules, but that's something that we will work with you on as part of your funding application. We will engage with industry support as well to secure additional funding, but we would be looking for benefit in kind from the developers as well. We're not looking for cash funding, we're looking for benefit in kind, skin in the game type approach. We've also been asked about how much of the oil and gas companies are putting into the fund. So as I explained in one of my earlier slides, most of our support from the industry is currently through benefit in kind and access to facilities and data. So again, if you are looking for field trialing or you're looking for data to help validate your technologies, we can provide access to that through our membership network. So we've also been asked what the minimum maximum temperatures are currently dealt with. So our typical temperatures that we're seeing are about -4 to about 175 degrees C. But our typical sort of CUI occurrence is between the 80 and 120 degrees C. So that's the problems that we're seeing CUI occurring on a more regular basis. So again, another question around the insulation and insulation materials. So there's different various forms that are currently being used. So we have traditional rock wool foam, it's metal cladding to soft cladding type technologies, wraps. So there's a various wide range out there, and we're also looking for new and different ideas for different insulation systems. Effectively, we are looking for insulation systems that are suitable for a harsh environment, based in the North Sea from an application point of view and as well from robustness. So there are the different operating conditions that we're currently working in.
Okay, we've got a question on the exact time deadline for the 11th of May. So we typically close the calls at 11:59 p.m. on the final day, just to give everybody the maximum chance to submit their ideas.
And option to work late at night.
Yeah. Previous calls, the deadline has been extended so that everybody can get their applications in. I mean, we would encourage you, given that it's a relatively short form that you have to submit, and as Rebecca said, it's an expression of interest at this stage. We would encourage you to try and get your ideas in as soon as possible, because there's no guarantee that the deadline will be extended. So if you can aim for at the very latest 11:59 on the 11th of May, that would be great.
We've also been asked about collaboration with universities. It's not limited to Scottish universities or even UK universities. As I said earlier, as long as the technology is applicable to the North Sea, then it can come from any region or any universities. Any of you that are familiar with Innovate UK type funding, where you have to have an SME on board or a university, we're not limited to those type of support of those areas. You can be an individual company putting in a proposal, or you can be a consortium. Again, we're open to all ideas. But we're also looking for generic solutions as well as, rather than bespoke one-off type thing. It's really about adding that value into the industry on a widely adoptable process. So that's why we are looking for generic type solutions. We have had a question regarding access to API directives. I'm not sure we have any of that, so we would not be able to provide access. It's not something we have at the moment. Also regarding ATEX certification, it is something that the industry do require, but we are trying to work with industry for at least the minimal viable product stage, that we can work under hot work permits, etc., to help test the technology until it's validated into the marketplace. We do understand the burden it can cause of ATEX relief certification, so we're trying to work with industry on that one. So it's not a major requirement at that stage, but it is advantageous to getting into field trial opportunities. So the scope does extend beyond mitigation to include preventing and new construction. We are looking to design out our asset integrity challenges for our new builds. Given that the current focus in the UKCS at the moment is on brownfield assets, but we will not discount new construction activities as well, because it is part of our remit. It's just not our biggest focus area due to our current challenges. But we would be looking for new technologies for new build areas as well, as and when our industry picks up and new projects get sanctioned. So again, we've been asked a question, does the scope include fireproofing? Yes, it does. PFP, or passive fire protection, does have a cause or can be a contributor to CUI. So again, we are looking for solutions that could potentially help from the fireproofing side as well. So again, we've been asked for a question around the percentage of cold versus hot surface related CUI. The vast majority is hot surface related CUI.
Okay, we've still got 41 of you still joined into the webinar. Still got a few more minutes left. If anybody has any additional questions, be happy to take them.
Again, we've been asked a question around about the cost targets for inspecting per pipeline. There's no real cost target. I mean, our initiative really is about reducing the cost and bringing in efficiency, but also a safety element as well. It's not just about the cost reduction, and it's about the, trying to eliminate the failures as well, because that's the problem we're currently seeing in the industry, is that we are having unexpected failures due to the difficulty in managing and predicting where and when CUI will occur. So there's not so much as a cost target, more yes, if we can reduce the cost, but ultimately if we can reduce the failures, which would then reduce platform shutdowns. So that's a big, broad question, that one. So that's why we're saying it's more about eliminating and reducing our shutdown problems. So we've been asked if we can provide samples for lab and field trials. Yes, we do have access to test samples and data that we can provide through the projects from various different organisations and other bodies that we work with. So yes, we can give you access to samples and test facilities, especially if you're looking for field trials. They necessarily won't maybe be offshore. We can potentially look at onshore trials as well with some of our downstream market. So it doesn't necessarily have to have an offshore field trial at this stage as well.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there.